Now let's go to your beloved New York, where leftist rabbis are campaigning for Zoran Mamdani. Yes, they are.
Hi, Rabbi. Hi, Rabbi. Hi, Rabbi. Hi, Rabbi. Hi, Rabbi. Hi. We're among the thousands of Jewish New Yorkers who've been out door knocking and phone banking to elect Zohran Mamdani. We're also rabbis.
We know Zoran will fight to make our city affordable and safe for our families.
And for our neighbors of all faiths and backgrounds.
As Jews, as rabbis, as New Yorkers, we believe that all people deserve to thrive. Zoran agrees.
Ah, dear me. Zoran agrees. What percentage of the Jewish community do you think is backing Zoran Mamdani? He's made some radical comments, and these radical comments aren't ancient history. They're very, very recent indeed.
Hi, Rabbi. I mean, Rita, you're more of a rabbi than they are. One of them literally said they don't believe in God, okay? Okay.
Yeah.
What rabbinical school did they go to exactly? That was so cringy. That was for the first time I saw it, I thought it was a Saturday Night Live skit, but I knew Saturday Night Live wouldn't do an anti-Mamdani video, so it couldn't be that. It had to be real. Yeah, look, I'm ashamed to say that if you look at the last three polls, 33%, on average, 33% of Jews in New York will vote for Mamdani. That is completely and utterly shameful. Maybe even more shameful is that when you're listening to this video and they go through all the reasons why they're supporting Mamdani, they didn't mention a single Jewish issue, right? This is, and by the way, that 33% is driven by mostly, like you saw in that video, young women, as I call the Yenta class. But I feel like if you're going to be Jewish, say you're supporting Mamdani, maybe bring up some Jewish issues. I don't know. Why don't you bring up an issue that Mamdani literally said that while the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's laced by the IDF. Yeah, when you go as a Jew, whenever I hear that, I go, oh, whatever I hear next is going to be horrible and terrible, and that's a perfect example of what we're talking about.
And you say that as a proud Jewish man.
I say
now,
that as a Jew.
we may all want... we may all wonder how someone like Zoran can be so popular, about to become mayor of New York City. But you hit the streets recently, and I think this next clip explains why.
Jails are so racist.
They're so racist.
Is it racist for a judge to say, hey, you have a history of violent crime?
Yes.
And to keep them because of that reason?
Yes.
Your criminal history should not play any role whatsoever.
I don't
fair?
think so, no. And I don't know if I know anyone who's never committed crime.
Well, just because you commit crime doesn't make you a criminal.
Right.
That the focus of the criminal system, the judicial system, should be less on safety and more on racial equity.
That the judicial system should be more on equity?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's the affluent New Yorkers who are the biggest problem, isn't it? It's always the people in the better parts of Manhattan who've got these wacky views and they vote accordingly.
Yeah, and by the way, this is the reason why, like Mandani said, he wants to abolish jails. This is what he said. These are his words. And of course, that comports with what you heard on that video. Judicial system is racist. The judicial system is out to get black people. Well, this is why when Mamdani ran against Cuomo for the Democratic nomination, he couldn't win the black and Hispanic vote because they understand the ramifications of those statements. I mean, the other part of that video was after you watch these crazy leftists talk about destroying and upending the judicial system, I went to Harlem. Actually, the best part is I asked this one person, I go, if I went to Harlem, would they agree with you? And he goes, of course they would. So then I went to Harlem. I was there for hours. Not a single person there said that it's racist. Not a single person there said we should abolish jails. They specifically said that these kind of policies, which makes our city, our neighborhoods more unsafe, they're on the tip of the sword when it comes to radicalization of changing of judicial and policing in the city. They're the ones who feel it more than I do in the affluent Upper West Side of New York. That's why he can't win the black and Hispanic vote. He doesn't get it. He's so far removed from reality.
Well, Ami, he doesn't need it because if the odds are accurate, if the polls are accurate, he is going to romp it in. Now, Donald Trump received quite the reception in Japan. He loves Japan, and Japan seems to love him back. The president lavished praise on Japan's first female leader, Prime Minister Takaichi, welcoming her pledge to accelerate a military build-up. And he also signed a trade and rare earth deal in Tokyo. Ami, he's also going to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by Japan. So it's been a loving today.
Yeah, he sure loves that when leaders say they're going to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. That's his jam. They were late for the press conference. It was so cute because they were both watching the World Series. Hey, Shohei, let's go Dodgers. Look, yeah, this is great. This is again, this is Trump at his best. The new prime minister is an accolade of the former prime minister who loved Donald Trump. He had a great relationship with him in his first administration before he was tragically killed. And this is a continuation, I think, of that relationship with that 4-year hiatus in between with Joe Biden. And I think what you see is you see him in action, right? So first of all, I think what hasn't been said by a lot of people is that historically Japan has really spent very little to nothing on defense, kind of an outgrowth of their warlike ways in World War II. But they've been spending 1% of their GDP on national defense. Well, he's going to get them to move that number up to 5%. That is game-changing. That is NATO-level spending. And that is exactly what they need to do to counterbalance China's predations. And like you mentioned before, he has been laser-focused on the mineral rights deals around the world, including with Japan and other nations in Europe, to create this iron chokehold around China, the entire periphery on China. He is setting them up to make sure that China is not going to make its influence known in that region and in the world.
And he got this reception, and you mentioned the history there, the reception very different to what Joe Biden got not too long ago. He really didn't have anyone of note greeting him when he touched down. It was a very different fanfare this time around. And importantly, the president also announced that Toyota is going to be spending $10 billion investing in manufacturing plants in the US. I don't have long, Ami, but that is a big win.
No, look, no question about it. And like I said before repeatedly, like I'm not a tariff guy, but if using tariffs as a tactic versus a strategy, I'm all for it. If you're able to use tariffs to force people to invest in our country, this is the result of that.
Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time.